Series then of loud explosions of sirens have sounded about across both Israel and Iran over the last few hours. We've heard from the Israeli army that at least 15 missiles were launched at the country as people headed for bomb shelters. Also heard electricity has been cut in some areas of both Israel and Iran. And we've heard from Iran as well that there have been a series of explosions over the skies of Tehran. We've also heard in the last few moments that the underground facility at Fordow. Well, let's bring you up to date with the very latest then, hearing of that attack on Fordow over the last few moments from the Israeli military. France 24's James Andre is with me here on set. James, unprecedented this, isn't it? I mean, we had this big attack by the US using these bunker buster bombs over the weekend, and now it appears the Israeli military targeting the same site once again.
Yeah, well, it appears that basically what happens was the famous GBU-57, which are these huge 30,000 pounds, that's 13 metric tons bombs. Obviously, it appears, if we're having new or renewed Israeli attacks on the site, haven't actually finished the job off. Now, there's a big question mark as to how deep Fordow is. Rafael Grossi, actually the head of the International Nuclear Monitoring Organization for the UN, has visited the site, and he said, I quote, that it's half a mile underground. Basically, experts speculate about maybe, shallow 60 meters, as deep as half a mile. Nobody knows. The GBU is indeed the most powerful conventional bomb in America's arsenal, and basically the most powerful conventional bomb, non-nuclear bomb in the world. But has it managed to finish the job off? Well, it appears that what we have now is Israel striking yet again on Fordow in order to make sure that site is completely destroyed. Experts have said that basically you cannot destroy Iran's nuclear capacities without taking out Fordow. Now, the question is, how much damage has Fordow sustained? Because that is something which is emerging right now and people are talking about a lot, is the fact that basically Donald Trump has been a bit of a liability when it comes to what you call OPSEC, which is, operational secret around a military operation, because he's been musing about attacking these places for now a couple of weeks. So have the Iranians moved the enriched uranium out of Fordow? That's obviously a real possibility. This is inside a mountain, so yeah, maybe additional strikes were necessary for the Israelis. These are all question marks. At this stage, we do not know how much damaged the equipment and the uranium installation inside this mountain of Fordow has actually sustained. That's one big question mark. And two, is the enriched uranium, the one that is believed to be enriched at nearly 90%, which is basically very close to bomb-grade uranium, was it actually there? Has it been moved? Do the Israelis know where it's been moved to, if it has been moved? All these are question marks.
Yeah, you mentioned moving. It's interesting you say that, James. We're just hearing, in fact, as you were talking there, from Israeli media citing a security source saying they've also attacked the roads to Fordow as well, perhaps to try and stop material getting in and out of the plant. Of course, the world is still waiting, isn't it, to find out if this is going to be it, or whether there will be a much bigger response from both Israel and from Iran as well to the weekend's events.
Well, we're very much at this really crux moment where the big question mark is, what will Iran do next? I mean, it is now very clear that basically, the United States and Israel control the skies over Iran. That is very, very clear. In the briefing by the Pentagon, it was very clear that basically these B-2 bombers, 7 of them, who dropped these massive bombs on Fordow and Natanz and Isfahan, basically they went in and out without even being fired at. So that, of course, asks a question: how much of the conventional weapons arms stock does Iran still have? Do they still have missile capabilities? How much can they still strike Israel? How long can they last? These are the big questions. But then there are a lot of things that Iran can do without using conventional weapons. You've got to remember that they have proxy forces. Now, these proxy forces have been attacked and degraded over the past few weeks. We know that. But if you take, for example, neighboring Iraq. In neighboring Iraq, you have the Popular Mobilization Forces. These are estimated to be, around 125,000 men. They're there. They are technically part of the Iraqi army at this stage, except that their real boss is Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran. So, they can wreak havoc in Iraq. If you move on to the next country, that would be Syria. Syria, obviously, the Bashar al-Assad regime has fallen, but there again, there are still forces. All the former pro-Assad forces who are still there, who could also potentially act. Then you move on to Lebanon. In Lebanon, Hezbollah has been degraded. As we know, Israel has bombed all of their, I'd say, strategic stocks, but they still have an estimated 25 to 35,000 men who are there, who are still very much committed to the cause of Iran and Shiism. And this, of course, is a force to reckon with. And then you have Yemen. And Yemen, you have the Houthis. The Houthis, estimated 350,000 men. That's another question. For now, the Houthis haven't exactly reacted. We know that they brokered a deal with the United States to stop attacking American ships that go through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Is that deal still on? That's a question mark. So if you like, these are all areas where Iran could potentially act, and they could act, basically saying that it was them or not. And then you have the Hormuz Strait, and that is, this strait which is basically controls access to Qatar, to Saudi Arabia, and 20% of the world's energy goes through that strait. It's 30 kilometers wide. Obviously, Iran's military capacities are degraded, but they can still probably block those ships, or at least attack some of them enough to, basically break that link, and that for international commerce and the price of energy could be, very damaging. So they still have an array of things they can do. You can add cyber warfare as well. But the big question mark is, what do they have left? What are they ready to go? Where would they want to go? Obviously, Donald Trump's bet is that they'll just fold and come to the negotiating table. But that nothing is less sure.
And just finally, James, briefly, if you can, we're just hearing as well, Russia's Vladimir Putin has met just in the last few moments with the Iranian foreign minister, hearing from the Kremlin, perhaps the strongest condemnation yet of the US, the Kremlin condemning and regretting US strikes. It appears at least one potential ally of Iran is lining up behind it, if you like.
Now, it will. The thing is, you see, Russia is actually collateral damage in this strike, because for now they've done nothing. They were not able to help the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria. So basically the regime fell, and that was that. Russia basically was in no position to actually, defend the Assad regime. Then you move on to Iran. Iran has been a strategic partner of Russia in the war with Ukraine. Basically, it was Iran who started supplying Russia with these famous Shahed drones, but also other types of equipment in order to help Russia with this war in Ukraine. Well, now basically the table has turned. It's now Iran that needs support from Russia. Russia does not appear to be bringing any form of support. Now, this, in the global narrative that's wanted by Vladimir Putin, obviously makes him look weak, because indeed his plan was to create a sort of an alternative, non-aligned group of states that would be led and headed by the Kremlin. Well, you see, that's one of the main allies of the Kremlin in the war with Ukraine. And basically, the Kremlin doesn't appear to be in any posture to help out militarily. Now, the question is, will Vladimir Putin move assets, help close its airspace to, U.S. planes? I don't know. But in any case, for now, Russia is looking weak. So yes, they've come out and condemned this attack. We'll have to see where this goes from here. Will Putin actually act?